Ivermectin, a well-known medicine that has been approved as an antiparasitic by the World Health Organization and the US Food and Drug Administration, has been a subject of controversy recently since the wide array of variation in the research regarding its use as a frontline drug against the COVID-19 has led to the initiation of a legal battle between the Indian government and the WHO, with one side trying to make a case for its effectiveness and the other side trying to prove its inefficacy against the global pandemic. What exactly led to the situation boiling up to this point, and what is the Indian government's stance against the WHO? Will this case have far-reaching consequences on healthcare? Continue watching this video to find out. On May 25th, the Indian Bar Association, the IBA, filed a 71-point brief accusing World Health Organization Chief Scientist Dr. Soumya Swaminathan of causing the deaths of Indian citizens by misleading them about Ivermectin. Point 56 of the indictment stated that the misleading tweet against the use of Ivermectin on May 10, 2021 had the effect on the state of Tamil Nadu withdrawing Ivermectin from the protocol on May 11, 2021, just a day after the Tamil Nadu government had indicated the same for the treatment of COVID-19 patients. The tweet, issued under Swaminathan's handle on 10th of May 2021, stated that safety and efficacy are important when using any drug for a new indication. WHO recommends against the use of Ivermectin for COVID-19 except within clinical trials. Following this, Ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine HCQ medications were removed from the new guidelines for the treatment of COVID-19 by the ICMR, short for Indian Council of Medical Research, and the National Task Force on COVID-19, with experts determined that these medications had little to no influence on COVID-related mortality or clinical recovery of the patient. Hence, the decision was made. Dr. Swaminathan has erased her now famous tweet, according to an update provided on the Indian Bar Association's website on June 5, 2021. However, removing the tweet would not protect Dr. Soumya Swaminathan and her associates from the criminal prosecution that will be brought by citizens with the active backing of the Indian Bar Association, stated the prosecution. The Indian Bar Association's main counsel, Dipali Ojha, has threatened to prosecute Dr. Swaminathan for each fatality caused by her actions of commission and omission. Swaminathan was accused of misconduct in brief for using her position as a health official to push the goal of private interests in order to keep an emergency use authorization for the lucrative vaccine sector. The charges including running an anti-Ivermectin disinformation campaign and making statements in social and mainstream media to incorrectly influence the public against the use of Ivermectin, despite the existence of large amounts of clinical data showing its profound effectiveness in both the prevention and treatment of COVID-19. The 10-member Frontline COVID-19 Critical Care Alliance Group and the 65-member British Ivermectin Recommendation Development Panel, led by the WHO consultant and meta-analysis expert Dr. Tess Lawrie, cited peer-reviewed articles and evidence in their brief. In points 60 and 61, Advocate Ojha accused the WHO and Dr. Swaminathan of misleading and misinforming the Indian people throughout the pandemic, from mask use to exonerating China as the virus's origins. The world is slowly waking up to your stupid, arbitrary and erroneous method to presenting made-up data as scientific approach. While the WHO prides itself on being a know-it-all, it is analogous to the vain emperor in new clothes, despite the fact that the entire world has understood by now that the emperor has no clothing at all. This is what the fiery advocate had to say further in his remarks. The WHO was accused of being part of a massive disinformation campaign. According to the brief, the FLCCC and the BIRD have shown remarkable fortitude in forming a formidable force to confront the issue of deception, resistance and rebuke from drug lobbies and big health interests like WHO, NIH, CDC and regulators like the US FDA, according to point 61. Dr. Swaminathan was chastised for defaming Ivermectin in order to keep the EUA for the vaccine and pharmaceutical industries. It appears you have purposely chosen the deaths of people to achieve your ulterior purposes, and this is adequate grounds for criminal prosecution against you, said point 52. Advocate Dipali Ojha highlighted the nature of the intended action in this update. The Indian Bar Association has threatened to take legal action against Dr. Soumya Swaminathan and others under Section 302 of the Indian Penal Code for murdering each person who died as a result of an obstruction in the successful treatment of COVID-19 patients with Ivermectin. The death sentence or life imprisonment are the penalties under Section 302 of the Indian Penal Code. It was Advocate Oja's stance that after receiving the above-mentioned warning, Dr. Soumya Swaminathan went to the defensive and erased her tweet. The WHO's recommendation against Ivermectin for COVID-19 had been proven to be false. The WHO's dishonesty, as well as Dr. Soumya Swaminathan's conduct of deleting her controversial tweet, was witnessed by citizens all over the world as the news gained widespread attention on social media. Thus, Dr. Soumya Swaminathan demonstrated her mala fide intent by deleting the tweet. The success of Ivermectin against India's lethal second surge was demonstrated around the world, as outbreaks in regions that used it were promptly eradicated, in stark contrast to those in states that did not. The Ivermectin areas of Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Goa, for example, had 98%, 97%, 94% and 86% reductions in cases respectively. Tamil Nadu, on the other hand, has chosen not to use Ivermectin. As a result, their cases soared to the highest level in India. Deaths in Tamil Nadu have soared tenfold. Dr. Swaminathan's advice was publicly relied upon by Tamil Nadu in reversing their initial choice of Ivermectin the day after she advised against it in a social media tweet on May 10th. As a result, Tamil Nadu has seen an increase in COVID-related deaths and illnesses, which has persisted to this day. The Indian Bar Association took the risk of filing a landmark lawsuit against a public health authority in order to expose corruption and save lives. A court in India is now following in the footsteps of the courts in the United States in ensuring a patient's right to obtain Ivermectin. According to the WHO, there is currently insufficient data to establish Ivermectin's effectiveness against COVID-19. Hence, it is not recommended as a COVID treatment, except in clinical trial studies that could provide greater proof. Swaminathan has spoken out against the use of politically popular but scientifically unfounded treatments such as hydroxychloroquine and remdesivir, the latter of which even received emergency use approval from the US Food and Drug Administration despite a lack of evidence about efficacy, according to WHO. WHO responded by saying it regretted the inappropriate attacks on senior officials in the media, but that it was unaware of any legal procedures being brought by the IBA, despite the publishing of the putative suit. It's worth noting that the group is a non-profit with no legal or regulatory status in India. One of their spokespersons stated that the World Health Organization's assessment of Ivermectin for the treatment of COVID-19 was based on the most recent scientific data. An independent worldwide guidelines development group develops WHO guidelines, which are revised on a regular basis when new data becomes available. The criminal prosecution of public health authorities will convey a strong message that death-related disinformation efforts have repercussions. Perhaps this approach will eventually overcome the shackles of misinformation and censorship around the use of repurposed drugs to save lives. Perhaps in the future, other countries will follow India's lead in medicine and law. Well, that is all we have for you today. We hope you enjoyed this video and it helped shed some light on the ongoing legal proceedings of India against the WHO. If you want to support us and watch more videos like this, hit the like and subscribe button and leave us a comment on what you think about this entire ordeal. Hit the bell icon to keep getting updates from us. See you later!